This little fella, well, his name is Charlie. Now, he actually belongs to my neighbours next door, so he's not our dog. But the great thing about Charlie is he loves to come and pay us visits. Sometimes he stays for the day, sometimes we're lucky enough to have him for sleepovers. When he does stay, I love to make him feel super welcome and comfortable. So what I want to do is make him his very own doggy bed for those little stayovers. So this one is not going to be just any doggy bed though. It's going to be super grand, a 4-poster. Only the best for you, Charlie. What do you think? I could build this doggy bed completely from scratch, but honestly, you really don't have to go to that much effort. If you've got an old pine or a strong coffee table like this, as you can see, if you flip it upside down, you've already got the basis of a 4-poster bed. The only thing with this is I don't actually need all of this excess. So the first job is to unscrew the top. I could reuse this top, it's a great piece of timber, but to save cutting it down and just make life a little bit easier, what I've done is I've just headed down to Bunnings, given them my measurements, and they've cut me a piece of MDF to the exact size. So this goes down, and once this goes on top, you can see it's nice, neat and flush. At this stage, it's probably a good idea to use some PVA glue. Now this makes the joint nice and strong. A great suggestion if your dog's a little on the portly side, as is young Charlie. If any little bits of glue just squeeze out of the edges, take a damp cloth and just wipe away the excess. So using the same brackets and the same screws, we'll just fix the new top to the base. Now if you don't have any of these, you could always use little angle brackets, or you could just screw it from the other side. To elevate the bed just a little off the floor, which not only looks better, but will also keep Charlie out of the draft, I'm adding these bun feet. You can buy these from Bunnings. So I'll flip it upside down and then I can screw from the other side. It all adds to the decorative appeal. I do admit this project takes a little bit of thought, because these were once the legs on the underside. Well, now they're the legs on the top side. They're actually the 4-poster legs. These look a bit shabby. I think I could either fill them or I could keep going and just kind of stack up a little more detail. And maybe a little crowning finial on top. To attach these, I'll use a combination of screws and construction adhesive. It just makes them nice and strong. Everything gets a light sand and then it's on with the paint. I'm loving how the bed's all coming up, fit for a prince, but I do want to add just one extra detail for Charlie, and that's a bed headboard. Easy enough to make. What I've done here is just taken some MDF and I've shaped it using a jigsaw. You could have it straight across, it's really up to the style that you want. Now to make this padded so it's really comfy, I'm using wadding. You can find this just from the craft store, and I'm using a double layer that makes it extra squishy. To apply it all, I'm just using my staple gun. It's on with the wadding first, just a couple of staples to hold it in place, wrap it around the top, and then for over the top of that, I've got this lovely fabric. It's like a linen, it's a soft sagey grey, it'll match the house perfectly. A headboard like this not only looks good, but I do think it offers dogs just that certain sense of security. You know how they like to snuggle up against a wall and just feel secure in a snug place? Well, this is the perfect thing. Just to neaten up the back here, a piece of fabric. It is a piece of furniture after all. It's a nice idea to put your puppy dog's name along the side of the bed. You can buy these MDF letters from the craft store and paint them any colour you like. Instead of measuring, which is a bit of a palaver, I just like to use a bit of blue tack on the back, position them, and when I'm happy, stick them down with construction adhesive. you do have any sharp hardware like these little brackets, you can always cover them up just with a baseboard. So this just sits neatly over the top. Then I think it's in with the comfort. A couple of pillows. These ones are nice and soft, I think you'll approve. The good thing about these two is you can wash them easily. And then over the top, doggy blanket to create the complete luxe look. Just might tuck him in at the edges. I think all that's missing now is one very spoilt pooch, don't you think? Whether it's for an afternoon snooze or an all-night snuggle, I reckon your fur baby will be bound to dig his or her new bed. Don't you think, Charlie? Yeah. I'm not really much of a jewellery person, but there are a few special pieces that I own and I like to wear them from day to day. So this is kind of, sadly, the scenario I end up with on my bedside table. So what I'm thinking of doing is making myself some really beautiful jewellery bowls, and I can do that using some air-dry clay. If you like moulding things but you can't be bothered with clay in a kiln, this is the answer. It dries overnight, it's water-based, non-toxic, kids can get involved, and I think it's time I clean this lot up, don't you? By nature, clay is quite smooth, but if you want your bowls to have a little more texture, you can always add detail using things you can press into it, where you can actually take lace doilies and you can press it in, so that's quite fun. Anything with a nice texture to the pattern. It's a great one to get involved with the kids, or anyone who just likes using their hands and loves the idea of doing a bit of sculpture. Really such small effort to just squish it into long sausage shapes, and you can pull bits off and you can really play with it. So once I've got that all formed, rolling pin to the rescue. Perfect. Just very gently trim around the bowl. This is quite a nice one, it's a little button, so let's push in and see what we get. That's a good one, isn't it? Well, that's a really pretty pattern, but now what I need to do is actually form the bowl shape. So going back to my original dish with some baking paper in there, just very gently press it down just to form that jewellery dish-like shape, and then flip the dish upside down and just drape it over it. Run your finger around. This is a time to smooth it out before it dries. It's going to take 24 hours to dry or so, depending on your weather. And then once it does dry, this is what it will look like. A very cute little dish, which you can decorate with paint or glitter or anything you like. Done a few others just to show you what some of the other textures look like. Some of these lacy doilies in the stamp. See, that's a cute one. That is the crochet doily. Really lovely texture there, and that's got a little bit of both. So let's decorate those with paint and see how beautiful they become. So I'm just using acrylic paint. Once they're painted up, you can see how pretty they look. Now, if you do have a little bit of clay left over like I do here, don't waste it. Just a tiny little dab is all you need to create one of these. It's called a flower frog. Now, basically, it's a piece that you sit on top of a jar, the water goes in there, and these little holes, well, they allow the flowers to stand upright. It's a really pretty idea, would make a great gift. So just roll it out, same way as before. And I'm using the plastic doily just to press it in, but again, you can use your favourite shape. Now, this is the trick. What you need to do to make the big holes is use a funnel. An ordinary kitchen funnel is fine. And then pop a paintbrush in and just poke it through, and you'll see that it pops out those holes nicely. And the amount that you add just depends on how many flowers or stems you want to incorporate. Now, the one thing to remember with this is air-dried clay is susceptible to water, and as this is going to go on top of a vase, you will need to thoroughly varnish it. So make sure that you do 2 or 3 coats. Okay, with that done, I think we better go gather some foliage. Lucky for me, I live in the bush, and these flowers, well, I think they're actually weeds, but they grow in my own backyard. And this little flower frog, well, it separates and displays them beautifully. That was so much fun. Now I've got somewhere absolutely beautiful to display my jewellery and a nice little vase for my bedside table. All in all, I think a great result. No more jam jars for me.